It is the month of fabulous freedom and the magical guide to bliss. As you all know, this podcast is based upon my book, The Magical Guide to Bliss, 366 insights of the day that follow the year from Carpe Diem in January to Magic and Miracles in December. This is a show about transformation, dreams, inspiration, true happiness, discovering bliss, and my favorite time to manifest the life of your dreams. We are all just steps away from living the life we desire. It's just time to wake up to a universe packed with possibility. And before we begin, I always invite my guests to pick a number, set their intention, and away we go. So I'm getting the profound honor of introducing Sejal. She is a powerhouse. Not only is she the founder and chief civility officer of TrainXtra, as she grew up in her suburb of Chicago, she fought hatred and discrimination on a regular basis. So she is an incredible powerhouse of justice as far as getting rid of ignorance, insensitivity, and bullying conduct of others that impact all of us when they actually go under our skin. She is powering her own inner ninja, and she will empower yours as well. She is armed with knowledge she gained from these experiences, and she teaches that harassment will not stop on its own. It's up to all of us to be part of the fight to stop workplace harassment. We cannot be complacent bystanders. That's all of you. Nobody can sit by and stand by and watch things unfold. They have to be a part of it. Welcome the change that we want to see in this world. She is about changing the workplace, and she is doing it one workplace at a time, one person at a time. So she is a passionate transformer, and she's looking to set educational goals to replace civility by powering others to be part of the solution. Her goal, like I said, is to empower each employee to create a positive workplace. And on top of everything, you guys, she is a TEDx superstar. It is a must say. I will include the link, and it is entitled The Pain, Power, and Paradox of Bias. So there you go. Do I have a powerhouse as my guest tonight? I'm so excited to welcome Sejal. How are you? And my God, do we need more positivity in the workplace these days? For sure. I can't believe this theme is so on point. Onward, freedom to create a new ending. This is our first stop, our first point of ability or possibility to start telling a different story and creating a better situation in this world where we all can make a difference, and then we can rewrite the bad in our life so that they begin anew again. So how are you tonight, Sejal? How is everything going on your neck of the woods?
Wow, that intro is killer. For serious.
Well, I mean,
Thank you.
If it only matches who you are, I literally put in words what you are is so much more than the words that I spoke. So I really have been so excited to introduce everyone to you. And honestly, I wasn't going to do any shows in July because it was my freedom, but I said I had to have you because you're an amazing, amazing gift to everyone. So without further ado, tell me a little bit more about you.
Well, first of all, thank you again for having me here. Like, seriously, I'm looking forward to our conversation and just kind of getting to know each other a little bit more. Mm-hmm. So a little bit about me, as you mentioned in my TEDx talk, I kind of talk about a little bit about my journey growing up. I grew up in Chicago in an Italian neighborhood. When my parents moved here, so I'm the daughter of immigrants. My parents are from India. And after they moved here, it was a little rough growing up because we were the only Indian family. And so at a very young age, I dealt with bullying, harassment, all that stuff. On top of that, too, I was dealing with things at home, right? Because of my parents literally barely spoke any English. At home, it was like being in India, right? And you walk out your door and then you're in dealing with the American culture and almost like in Little Italy, because in my town, they were all Italians, right? So talk about just not feeling, welcome in either environment and trying to figure that out growing up. Yeah. So when you put all that together, social justice was something that was from a really young age. I was able to, I feel like because of what I've gone through, pick up on people who had gone through pain like that, and I don't know, when I talk to some people, they know what that's called. I haven't put a name on that, but I'm able to pick up on when other people feel like they don't fit in or they don't belong, because I've always felt that way. So I wanted to be a voice for the marginalized and do what I could. So law school was one of the things that I knew from an early age I was going to go. So I did. And the surprising part, though, to the kind of the twist in my story, which is what I called the paradox in my talk, is that I think most people, after hearing that part of my journey, would have been like, you're going to be a plaintiff's attorney, or you're going to represent the people, right, that have been victimized like you have. And I actually ended up doing the opposite. So I became the attorney that was a defense attorney. So now here I am representing people who are accused of harassing and bullying other people.
Wow.
And so that's the twist in my journey. But all of that, and we'll get into that a little bit more as we kind of get in the conversation, really has helped me do the work that I'm doing, and everything you described in your intro, everything leads up to that point, right?
So one of the things I really love about you, and I like to find, our core of attorneys who literally jump out of where they were to do something, but you have significant experience in that realm. You have years of experience in that realm. So there's a lot of value in that foundation that you've set up for yourself that really is empowering you to do the job that you want to do, your purpose and your calling here in this world. And, I think that when we start off by even seeing that, everything builds on itself. I think that, I love the stones behind you. They're all balanced, this whole balance of life that we come here to learn and create. And, here Suzanne is even saying, no shame, this is how we learn to see things from multiple perspective, which I think is a great point, because you can only see things through other perspective if you walk that part of your journey. So I think that what you said as far as, having that growth process when you're growing up in this, both parts, your Indian household, your Italian neighborhood you're in, it really builds the character of who you are today. So, I love the fact, okay, so this is great, because the quote today is, hey, guess what? You're the only creature with free will. How does that feel? That's Kurt Vonnegut, who's like one of my favorites. And I think that the perfect conversation for today is because you do not have to have a time machine to go back and change how things were. You have the ability to start today and change what you can from within, even if your past is peppered with shame, blame, all the game, the whole things that, we don't like and we're not proud of, that trigger us. But everything happened has made you who you are today, and that you have the free will to decide how you get to use that with the resiliency to move forward and never give up. So, start from you are free to make a brand new ending. What are your thoughts on this, coupled with your whole past experience and your present life right now?
It's so true. And there are literally several defining points in my life where I had to make that choice, of, am I going to just surrender and be a victim? Because that is so much easier, so much easier. Right. Or am I going to overcome this? And how do I do that? And a lot of times you don't have that answer when you're making this important decision. So one, and I have several of those, but the first one that I can remember going back, if I went all the way back, is that situation I talked about in my TEDx talk, where I talk about, I dealt with a lot of bullying and harassment. So there was name calling, there was graffiti on our house house would get TP'd, all kinds of, comments about my skin color and who I was and all of that stuff. So, but there was one incident that I talk about in that TEDx talk, and that really just was one of those points where I'm like, I need to make a decision. And I need to make sure that I'm prepared to deal with the consequences of this decision. And so somebody had put a note on my locker that said, "Go back to your country." And I was so pissed off, and I felt this rage that, like, oh my God, I mean, like literally, it was like that thing just exploding inside of me, right? And so I was already feeling that way. And then I went to the cafeteria, and a girl started making fun of me, and I just lost it, man. I seriously just snapped, right? Huh. And so, and so I got suspended. And this wasn't and here's the thing that kills me about that situation. I was the one getting suspended for defending myself, right? And so this wasn't the first time that had happened, right? This happened now. This was the last one. And so that night, one of the reasons why I did the TEDx talk was to raise awareness on the issue that people who are immigrants, that are either born here, or immigrant children that are born here or come from somewhere else, there is like zero support for people that are going through that. Even today, like this was back, years ago. And so these kids don't have support. Who do you talk to? There's nobody at school you can talk to. Your friends really don't really get it. You don't have anybody at home. And so you just do the best you can to get through it. Right. And so I had been fighting out, like I had been fighting back. I've been reacting to it like any normal teenager going through any kind of bullying or harassment. Right. I was angry, upset. And anybody that's been bullied, not just for my reason, but for any reason, could know that feeling of at some point you're going to snap. And that was that moment where I snapped. It was it. And so the only person I had was my dad. And so he would, and he wasn't really even truly could understand what I was going through. Right. And so I did that. But I remember that night I stayed up all night. I was seriously so angry. I just wanted to run out of my house and just run away, and it was feeling like what do I do? And so I kind of stayed up all night, just kind of thinking through things. I tried music. I tried everything to just calm myself down. I felt like even my heart rate was elevated. And so, but that was one of those choices where that next morning I had a choice to make because I was not going down the right path. Like seriously, this was like the third or fourth time I got suspended. It was only going to get worse, at this point. And it's not like the bullying was going to stop.
Yeah.
And so I made that decision that I'm not going to be a victim to the circumstances. I can't choose how I respond to the situation. And it wasn't easy. And I wasn't always perfect. It was ugly most of the time, just trying to get through that. But I decided that. And so one of the things that helped me really get through it was I threw myself into the books, right? I said I was just going to, study all the time. I was going to just get the heck out of that house as quickly as I could. And I wasn't going to let the circumstances dictate, how I was going to respond. So I just threw myself into the books and it worked, so that's one thing I did.
Well, I think I did have an incident in high school or maybe not even high school, maybe it was middle school where I took a pencil and then someone was like making fun of me and I stabbed him in the Not hard. And I got in trouble. So I was like, what this doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem fair. But the bottom line is in society, there are a lot of things that happen that are not fair, right? And what I learned is, you have to, it's interesting how you became an attorney and I became an attorney because the bottom line is, I'm going to be able to use my words to, advocate for myself and for other people. And even Andrew's saying this is great stuff. And Suzanne, it's the only thing we can control our response. So it turns the power grid back to you that you have control over what it is that you do and the unfolding from there, which is kind of hard though as a kid because who has that kind of, agency at first. So I do have to tell you, one of the things that I really love is my period of quotes. I get to share these quotes, and these are the beautiful quotes that you shared with us. The first one you put is, "Let us sacrifice our today so that our children can have a better tomorrow." Tell me a little bit about this and what this means to you, because I think that this is on point following what you just said.
Absolutely. This really is the reason why I do what I do today. I mean, I have a 9-year-old son, and, that was the other, when we talk about those defining moments where you have choices to make, that was the other defining moment in my life. Another one of those where, he was a preemie. He came out 6 weeks early and he was born at 4 pounds. Right. And the minute, Meg, my eyes laid on him, I was like, I'm not working like a dog anymore. I'm done with the law firm life. I left a 6-figure salary and I said, I want to be at home with my son, period. And I made that decision then. And I've tried to do everything that I could since then to stay aligned to that goal. Every decision I made has to be so that I can be, but that, along with that is, as I see the world that we're in right now, and I'm like, I don't want him to get jaded and get hurt and see the kinds of things that we're seeing. And, a lot of the people that I've connected with last year, I'll give a shout out to Vivian Aka. She holds these diversity conferences. She's doing the same thing. I think a lot of women are just coming up, and men too, and saying that we understand that we have to lead the way so that our children, and whether it's my child or anybody's child, has a better tomorrow. And that's the reason why we're doing it. We may not see the payoff in our lifetime, but it will happen. And it is happening already. My son, like I was telling you before, he saw everything was going on. He's like, what is wrong with, why are people being this way towards each other?
Right.
So it's already happening. And if we just keep doing what we're doing, it will happen. I believe that. So
yeah, I agree. And I do think that the greatest currency we could ever have is happiness, and what guides that. So the 6-figure, 7-figure, while nice, if you're burnt out, you're lousy for that beautiful, 4-pound miracle that came into the world, there is really, what's the point at the end? You're just like a mess. So I love this too. You either walk inside your story and own it, or you stand outside your story and hustle for your worthiness. And Andrew is saying, as a point, in fact, good trouble here. So tell me a little bit about what this means to you as well.
Well, I'm a huge fan of Brene Brown. Right? Like, she's just awesome. I love her work. I've read all of her books. And so, but to me, when I look at this, it's really about, for a long time in my life, I struggled with this inner struggle of trying to fit in everywhere, trying not to stand out so that I don't get bullied or harassed, or that I don't draw attention to who I am. And even at home, same thing. So, it took a long time for me to just really get to the point. And I struggled with that because my inner core part of me is being who I am. Yeah. And so when I was put in all these situations and I was feeling like I was trying to fit in, it was a struggle for me because I was going against my normal grain. And I think for a lot of people, right? And so I interpret this quote to say, the journey to getting to that point where you can say, I'm going to be honest about what I've gone through, the good and the bad, all of that, the flaws and everything, and own that and say, this is who I am. And I'm not going to change those parts of me. I'm not going to hide those parts of me, no matter where I'm at, And so it takes a while to get there. And I feel like I've gotten there, and I'm still continuing to work on that. I think it's a lifelong journey. Yeah. But I think that the sooner that you can get to that point and see that the only way is to, as you talk about, and a lot of the stuff you're out there saying, is to embrace who you are and then move from there, right?
Yeah, one of the things I read this morning, I think it goes to your point, is if you be authentic as you become the author of your own story, then you have the authority to decide where you're going with it, which I loved. And I think it plays into what you're saying here. I loved everything that you just said. And then, of course, we will be known forever by the tracks we leave, clearly owning what legacy that we're leaving for the rest to come after us. Tell me a little bit about this as well.
Yeah. And again, for me, it's all about, I do what I can to be the best mother for my son, the best role model, and just, I've made it about him, and so all my decisions get simpler. And I just want him to be able to look back, when he's older and I'm not here anymore, to say, wow, like that was my mom, and if that's the legacy, everything else, who else remembers me is wonderful. And to know that I make an impact on people, but he's the only one that I'm working real hard to impress,
Yeah. That's awesome. You have your own little audience there just watching and proud of what you've made of your life, because you did switch from an attorney, practicing attorney, litigator, to now you are chief civility officer, which, is really something that is going to leave an incredible legacy based on your wisdom. And now this is truly so profound. The idea that some lives matter less is the root cause of all that is wrong with this world. Tell me about this. This is awesome.
I truly believe that with my core, and again, it's not to blame anybody, because I think we're just thrown into this type of mentality. It's conquer, like divide and conquer kind of, we're just thrown into it. But honestly, it always amazes me that when I go to like third world countries like India or South Africa, and these people have nothing, and yet they're some of the kindest people I've ever met, and they make you feel welcome, even if you look like them or not. And so, but when you get, to certain communities and cultures, it's like putting other people down, and it's like, that is the root cause of all the problems. Like when we first realized that there is no scarcity issue, right? There's plenty of, it's in abundance, what we all need to kind of get through our journeys. And so again, this is just, I everything I do in my work in my trainings and my workshops is all centered around trying to get people to see that we're all the same. We're all interconnected.
Yeah, I think that what you said, those 2 points, the abundance mentality is so important, because if you are in an abundance mentality, then there's no scarcity. We all have, and the interconnectedness. I love those 2 concepts, because I think when people start to shift around that perspective, it becomes less of us versus them to the collective. And the bottom line is that we are individuals within the collective, but that's the beauty and the fruit of what we bring to the whole. And then, of course, you can either feel sorry for yourself or treat what has happened as a gift. Everything is either an opportunity to grow or an obstacle to keep you from growing. You get to choose, which is really what is the foundation of my favorite Wayne Dyer. I have to tell you, I got to meet him. I loved meeting him. He is one of my, wisdom gurus. But tell me a little bit about what this means to you, because I loved it. I'm so glad you picked it.
Well, again, going back to the story, what we were talking about earlier, it's like we can't control what's going to happen to us. Some people are born into privileged homes. Other people are not as lucky. We can't control a lot of things that happen. And, you're so lucky you got to meet him in person. I didn't, but I've read a lot of his books. And it's like we are, we can't control all of that, but what we can do is control how we feel about it. We can try to control our emotions, our perspectives, and how we react to some of these situations. And that's going to happen to everybody, regardless of who you are. And that's but we are responsible for that. And, I think the biggest thing that kind of, when I read this quote that jumps out at me, is that we have a choice. And for me, like when I see that picture and stuff, for me, the choice is that I trust myself 100%. I can't trust anything else. I don't know what's going to happen. I can't control, but I can trust myself to make the right decisions for me. And so I just think that we need to own that, and take control of the fact that we can choose and make different decisions. We don't have to be a victim to what's going on.
So important. And to have that ability to trust yourself, knowing that you're really, truly going to be okay as long as you follow your gut and your intuition. Certainly. And I think this story, it's so funny because, I was blessed to meet you by virtue of my brother from another mother, Andrew, if you're out there still. Thank you. I've enjoyed this connection because she's clearly a manifester and a powerhouse. And, but the fact of the matter is that he trusted his gut, that he knew that we would get along. And then he connected the 2 of us, fellow recovering attorneys, perhaps, I don't know, a lot around the energy of healing, processing, moving on, the credible things that you're creating now, that are just manifesting, which is really, I said this to you at the outset of the show. I said, you are really magical, Sejal. You are clearly one of those people who brings things into the world by virtue of just setting out with the intention to see it come to fruition. That's why I know everything that you touch is going to be magical and it's really going to change the world in a grand.
Don't make me cry.
It's true, because it's so interesting when you see someone who's doing something like that. I don't do exactly what you do, but I want to support you and support that. So I think it's really important to call that out and and thank those who connect us so we can do that. And that'll lead us to this beautiful quote as well. Surround yourself with people who push you to do and be better. No drama or negativity, just higher goals and higher motivation, good times and positive energy, no jealousy or hate, simply bringing out the absolute best in each other. And that's Warren Buffett. And the reality of the story about this is that we are made better by others. So tell me a little bit what you think about this.
Absolutely. But thank you so much for what you just said, by the way. And it's right back at you. I feel that same energy from you. Like every single thing you're doing is powerful as heck. And I'm going to be a cheerleader and support you every step of the way. So you've got me. So this quote for me, this is the hardest lesson. This is the lesson that it's taken me the longest to learn, honestly. It took me a long time to figure out that we are a product of our environment. I fought this one. And so, what I've always tried to do as I fit into these different situations is forget my own identity in those situations. And so I wasn't really surrounding myself with the right people, because again, I was getting drawn to people that had struggled and suffered, struggled with belonging. And so I was drawn to that, which is just a natural, it's who I'm going to be. That's okay. But I didn't surround myself with people that were like purpose driven, that were passionate, that can also drive me forward, and what I was doing. And so I always felt like I've said this in my life too. It's like my wings are clipped, and I've always had that feeling. But this last couple of years, you being one of these people that I've met, it's like insane. I'm surrounded by just people that are on the same like-minded. It doesn't mean that we're all doing the same thing, but they're passionate, super passionate, and they're following their calling and whatever that is. And it's beautiful. It really is beautiful. So, but I've struggled with this lesson. This is the number one lesson of my life that I've fought and resisted.
Isn't it funny, though, that when we struggle, more opportunities to learn show up over and over again? And okay, let's just learn this and move on. It's like, okay, I don't need this extra, pain point. I want it to actually be something that's going to embrace and give me more oomph to the vision. So, with regard to this particular show, I do have to say one of my favorite things is to be surrounded by people who add to my life things that I don't know, so I can learn more and more. And, I think it's funny because I think, regardless of what story we're telling ourselves now, we can always learn something. I think about myself all the time. It's like, what makes me come alive? What makes me more engaged in life, interested? Some days I come with a very lackluster mentality. Some days I come with like, oh my God, this person just lit me on fire and I'm ready to take on the world. It just depends on, really who I'm surrounding or who I'm engaging with. And then whether or not I can take that, boost or whatever you want to call it and move on in a different way. So, when I get people like you, extraordinary people like you, always say, okay, it's not just extraordinary, it's extraordinary, because bottom line is we all, live, breathe on this earth. We all are walking it. We all have to, exist every day. But then you bring something extra to the everyday. So how do you help those who are waiting to have that spirit of learning to come alive, and instead of following blindly this path that they think that they're victim to, they shift it around and use their skills, their gifts, and see their own value to help other people and serve other people moving forward in life that way?
For me, I'm talking about my story more, sharing what I've gone through, what I've learned. And that's a huge part of it. It's just like saying, look, you're not alone. And as you start sharing your story, you realize that, like my struggle was hard for me, but that struggle was hard for you. And that struggle was hard for you. And all of a sudden you realize you're not alone in that pain. Like a lot of people have experienced it, even if it looks different, it feels the same. And so I do that by just sharing my story. I do that in my work by doing my workshops on these topics so that I can help raise awareness of these issues that I think are super important. The goal is to bring us together, every single thing I do, And so the TEDx talk was another way where I was like, okay, I can use this stage. All these podcasts that I do, it's all around these issues of how do we help raise awareness on these issues. I mean, literally everything I do, including being a parent to my son and making sure he's exposed to different perspectives and things, is about just that, raising awareness on this. Because I don't want anybody going through what I went through or how I felt, just from my own. So if everybody just looked at their own pain and said, I'm going to act in a way so that nobody else has to feel your pain, whatever that pain is for you, then we're mission accomplished. We make a huge headway, right?
I always say, I didn't always say this, but someone told me once a long time ago that we'll never die of terminal uniqueness, right? Yes. There's always someone else who's going through the same thing that we do, right? And that in the end, if we start sharing our story from that place of vulnerability and speaking truth, to what it is that we want to, help, educate, perhaps, give a little light where there's some darkness, that we can really change lives around us. And then we don't have to do all the work alone, because other people will jump in and they'll want to participate as well. And when people come alive to this world, to this life, to this experience, then we have less people walking numb, just being a victim to anything for that matter, or any kind of nasty behavior, or anything like that, because you have agency. And you have the words to match that. So, further on, one of the things that I love to do is manifest. And I said to you at the outset, I said, you are really someone who manifests amazing. Tell me a story where something that you were able to manifest came into your life that started you on this journey to believe in the power of intention.
Okay, so I'm going to just share with you the last one. See how quickly that this comes, because this is so huge. Like if you don't get this, then I have to start from square one. But like, okay, so I have been very intentionally kind of getting up to the point where how can I help? How can I help? Right. So I went to law school. I did this work. Then I decided I'm going to train and educate. Right. And I can't tell you the number of times where I've said in my mind, and I've said, God, if I can just be there at the very beginning to sort of help create a better environment, because I believe it's totally possible, right? And create the strategy for this. And guess what? The recent job that I just accepted, right? The CEO of Nobody Studios, Mark McNally, saw what I was out there talking about doing. We've never met in person, reached out to me and said, hey, I see you're really passionate about workplace wellness and helping people in raising this awareness. I think I want you to, would you be interested in joining our studio? So I joined. And then like 3 months later, he said, we'd like to offer you the position of Chief Culture Officer to help us create strategy around culture. And we're going to be building 500 companies. And so you get to help be a part of that for 500 companies, not just one company, but for 500 companies. And I'm sitting there thinking, wow, right? Yeah. Like talk about, like that was just, I've had that thought, but had I ever thought and that would ever happen? But it's true. We can put that out there and we can make it happen. And not just that, but without even meeting me in person. So I just met the leadership team for the first time last week.
That's amazing.
Right? So, but you've got stories like this that we can probably talk for another 10 hours, right?
Yeah. Well, I think storytelling certainly brings power to possibility for sure. I mean, when we share those, like, what do we do? Like, I always remember, and then I don't know, I know the Indian culture, they share very great meals. I love Indian food. Mm-hmm. I love Italian food. They go around the table and they share their stories. And my cousin always said to us, the reason why people nowadays are not well apt at telling stories is because you don't do that anymore. There's no dinner time opportunity. It's like sitting around the campfire and we tell our stories, right? So the bottom line is that how now with this Nobody Studio, first of all, Nobody Studio.
What's that name? The best name ever, right?
What a name! I love it. And the fact of the matter is that I always get excited about, oh my God, you'll never believe what happened to me. That's like always like, I should have a show on, oh my God, you'll never believe.
Totally. Let's do it.
Let's do it, Sejal. Well, we have to do it because the bottom line is that is the most fun ever. Oh my God, you'll never believe. And it's totally followed by something fun is even better. It's like, oh my God, you will never believe what happened to me. And that is the life of someone who's manifesting some magic in their existence, and that is, and people start to believe that that's a possibility. I said the other day, oh my God, what happens if you're stuck in like something horrible and like the world is blowing up around you? And it's still, oh my God, you can't curse the darkness because if you have a chance to see the light. So where's the light? Find the light. Go find the light. So with you, like I mean, your beautiful light eyes, your beautiful presence, your beautiful energy. Oh my God, what wonderful things are going to happen to Nobody Studio because they brought you on. And the reality is that you're ready for this opportunity. So I absolutely love this. So, going on, prioritizing this new season, that you obviously have great stuff that's going to happen in front of you. I mean, you have 500 companies that you're going to be this officer.
Seriously, what is wrong with me?
I mean, well, it's funny because you probably now are not tasked like you were before in court when you were litigating. And plus, it doesn't seem like it's something that'll drain you. It'll actually empower your passion, and the whole point was for your audience of a 4-pound baby, who came into this world.
That's right.
Audience. So he is the one you are acting for, right? Totally. Your show, your stage, your everything is all toward this little baby or this young man now who's finding his own. And the reality is that in this new season, a decade, what is your, oh my God, I can't wait. What's the next thing for you that you are going to manifest and tools that help you get there?
God, I don't even know the answer to that question. I'll say this. I have always loved to travel. right? I've always loved to travel. And the other day, this was like 2 months ago, I joined this like festival thing, which is called a bucket list, right? So we had to make these little videos of what's on your bucket list. And I literally had to stop and like think about this, because I think I've been in like, especially this last year and a half, it's like survival mode, man. Like I got to pay my rent every month. Like I'm not thinking about like all of that, like the future, like it's day to day, right? But I had to stop and think about it. So here's what I'm going to put the intention out there. And if this could manifest before I have to leave this planet, right? Physically leave this planet, I would love to see all of the national parks in the United States.
Yay, that's an awesome goal.
I would love to do that because I'm a total nature person. That's where I get nurtured. And, you know, I mean, I'd be so happy if I can just say like, wow, I got to go to have an experience at each one of these and take that in. So that's what I'm going to put out there. That's the intention I'm going to put out there.
Okay. So like, let me ask you this. So now that you have the intention, what are the tools you would use to have it come to fruition then?
So yeah, so I need to start doing some research. This is going to require some planning, right? So I'm going to really start a journal about like where I kind of want to go and start mapping that out. And it'll be something that's going to like just be in the plan, right? Sort of let's map this out. And so I already did. I brought a book that said, you know, all the national parks that you need to go to. So that's here already. So I've got that part down. And so now it's just a matter of waiting for this pandemic to go so that I can start saying, where do I start and where do I go? And then just making it happen one by one, right?
You're in California. I'm in Florida. So, you know, it just seems like this, you know, Delta variant won't seem to go away. Obviously, there's actions that we all can do, and, you know, we take precautions. But the bottom line is, yes, we're all planning. We're looking forward to. That's one of the best things you can do for your happiness quotient, right? Is to plan something that is exciting. And I love any of you out there who are interested or have, you know, engaged or like gone through the national parks of this country. I know people who've done the baseball tour. I think my one of my best friend's father had traveled all around the world to see the baseball parks, but national parks, how beautiful, especially if you love nature, they give you amazing life. But yes, if anyone out there, you know, contact Sejal. She's going to be all ready to receive whatever in manifest. And who knows, the different 500 companies, where were they going to be? And maybe you'll have to go visit. And who knows if right around the corner there'll be a park? Who knows?
It's going to happen. It's going to happen one way or the other. I'm going to make sure of it, you know, because that's an attainable goal. You know, that is totally attainable. I think they've got like over 400 that are like sort of considered, but there's only, I think, like less than 80 that are like declared the national parks. So I'm going to start with the 80, right? Like that's going to be my goal. That's the intention I'm putting out there, is to get through those 80, and anything on top of that, wonderful. But like that would be where I'd be happy.
I love, you know, and I wanted to ask you, because this is something that literally I'm having a problem with now after being 18 months with the whole pandemic. You know, I used to be like, go, 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 go. I'm going to go. I'm such an expert. But I think a lot more energy to actually go out into the world. It's a little complicated. I can't believe it. I got ready to go out the other night. And I was just like, I sat down and had dinner with my family. We were supposed to go for just drinks, for God's sake. And I was like, I just can't do it. I don't know what was wrong with me, but I was just like, oh, it's not good. I was like, but you know, a lot of people are dealing with that. And I love the fact that you're making a plan, mapping out a plan to go, you know, see these national parks. But tell me, like, I don't know, have you come into, you know, an experience like that? You know, are you just, you know, back into the world? Are you experiencing, you know, life again as you knew it, or is it different for you as well?
Oh my God, it's totally different. Are you kidding? Last week was the first time I got on a plane since March of 2000. Wow. Yeah. So no, I'm not back into the real world. I've literally been home this entire time, except for when I had to leave the house. I've stayed in, and I was totally fine. Unlike you, we're like really high performers, like for high achievers. And so for us, this was like a vacation. Like I even last week when I went to the leadership retreat and we're going out, like I was like cashed out after that. I was like, it took all my energy out. It took literally all weekend of just laying in bed and like doing nothing to recover from that.
Yeah. But I'll tell you, it's kind of like endurance. You have to build it up like a 5K, you know, just to go out into the world. You got to go out like and take a couple steps, go out go do the things that you used to do, you know. But I think the bottom line is that, you know, I think a lot of people might like the pullback, the pause a little bit more than, realizing that that whole whirlwind of a lifestyle before wasn't really something that they want to continue again. Because and I don't know whether or not it's like, it's kind of like, trying to, roll up again. I watch the Olympics and I get excited, screaming at the swimmers, but the bottom line is like, I mean, for them, they had a whole year to wait for this. So it was like revved up and then they have to go revved up again. So to have that, escape velocity, you need to push yourself and then jump and then, who knows what's going to happen next. But, one of the things I wanted to ask you about, like, as well, because I know, you are a high achiever, you are a mover and a shaker, you are making magic, every day, even in this different lifestyle that we've had this last year, like at this point in time, with the freedom component, I want to go back to that, the freedom to create a new ending. What kind of ending have you decided at this point that you want to start creating for yourself, with travel again, obviously, that you said that, but what kind of like vision for your life do you have that switched because you had this period of pause?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest gift that I got out of this, I never want to repeat the last year and a half of my life ever again, but the biggest gift I got out of that, again, looking at perspective, right, is the element of time. I got back like 4 hours, 5 hours a day to be at home because I cut out that traveling aspect of my life and I was doing everything at home. And so going forward, I'm not willing to give up my time again in that way. I'm going to be very protective of my time, if not super intentional about where I spend my time. Yeah. That is a major shift in me going forward. Like that was not my case before. I would spent so much time on things that I was like, why? I'd be like halfway into the thing and I'm like, what am I doing here? This sucks. And I'm still doing this, I'm never doing that again. Like I am very intentional about if I don't want to be there anymore, I'm leaving. I'm not putting myself in situations where I don't want to be. I'm not committing to things that I don't want to do. Like it all has to just be very much centered around my son and time. Like time is a big one for me. So huge lesson. I mean, huge gift to recognize that now. Versus 20 years from now. And I'm sitting there and now I've got all the time, but I can't do anything. So I'm blessed that I learned this lesson quickly. I mean, not quickly, but this past year and a half.
And yes, Suzanne's saying yes, boundaries, which is very interesting because, we can, it's funny because we can allow other things to be a priority of our time. Unless we set our boundaries, then we'll be able to dictate, or delegate out or dictate how we want to do that. So one of the things I love about these interviews is that I ask you to set your intention and pick a number that complies with the magical guide to bliss. So let me ask you now, what is your number, and then what is the intention you set for tonight?
Okay, so the number, and I haven't looked at the book yet, so let me grab it here. And so the number I'm going to pick is going to be 202. So I don't know where that goes. Okay. Do I just turn to page 202?
202, absolutely. Okay. And tell us what your intention was for this evening, for yourself, for the audience, for anyone who happens upon this interview.
Okay, so my intention was to just have a great conversation, to have fun today, right? Okay,
definitely. So it's already done, I think, because I had the same intention. So the two of us met there for sure. So go ahead, tell me what your synchronistic page number would be at this point.
Okay, first of all, this is super talk about serendipity or whatever. Yeah. So 202 is my favorite number, right? It used to be 101 because I always loved the number 2. Then when my father passed away in 2012. Oh. Right. He passed away. I had a dream about him. And he said, when you love the number 2 because it's one, you plus me equals 2. And so he, in a dream, came to me after he passed away and handed me a note that had the number 101 on it. So 1 being me, him being on the other side, and I would meet him someday. So 101 has been my number. Then after my son was born, I added 1 to each one because it's 2 plus 2. So 202 is like my favorite number. Oh, that's awesome. This falls on July 2nd, which is the day he was born.
Oh, are you kidding me?
No, July 2nd is the day he was born.
Oh my God.
And the thing is, it says, be authentically you.
Oh, I love it. Oh my God, I love it. So what I would ask is if you read the quote and then read whatever jumps out at you in the passage that you see that would speak to what you just said, because that's beautiful. And everyone's saying that. Leslie is saying that's beautiful. Suzanne's saying I'm crying. So
Wow.
yeah, you clearly touched a good nerve with others.
Wow. So the quote is, you may as well be yourself. Everyone else has been taken, by Oscar Wilde.
I love
so I love all of this. So I'll read you just a couple of things. It says, for this life, God has given you everything you needed the day you entered the world, and you shall have everything to sustain you until the last day you're on your earth. Shine bigger and better. Get in touch with your internal spirit and allow that inner flow to just burst out of you. Wow.
I love that. And it complies with your 2022. It's like a message from beyond. I love that. That's awesome.
And then the magical key to bliss. Choose to see the beauty in the differences. Oh my God, I love that. What?
Like what? Wow. Don't look at it before the show, because you'll realize there's some involved with what you pick, and you know that's the kind of fun part for me. Is I like to sit back and look where people fall, where they fall on themselves. So with regard to the messages they get, so that's absolutely beautiful. Say that one more time, that magical key to bliss, because I think it's really good for everyone to hear, especially.
Oh yeah. Oh my God, I would love to. Choose to see the beauty in the differences. Oh my God, I love that.
That's awesome. And I do think that is exactly what you're teaching other people, is to find the beauty in the differences and realize that this is only going to better your life rather than deplete it. And at the end of the day, I'm going to leave everyone with this last beautiful quote that you sent to me. I absolutely love it. It's your soul knows. Tell me a little bit about that, because it is absolutely uplifting and inspiring, and it doesn't take any effort, which is one of my favorite words, effortless. So tell me what you think about that.
Yeah, by the way, I'm going to totally add that magical key to my LinkedIn profile right after we're done. For sure. Okay.
For sure.
So this quote is just super important to me. In my life, I've always said, I've said this many times in my life to people, like when I've dated somebody or to my friends, I've always said, I've always felt like I'm trying to get back to that inner child in me, that little girl, the little sage, I call her. Right. And so I've always said, I'm trying to go back to this. But then life happens and there's all this stuff that goes on. And then you start to question your worth and you start to see yourself through other people's eyes. And so a lot of the times I've started to question my own self-worth, my own self-confidence, and sort of struggled with who I truly am. And what I've realized is every time I was challenged and I started getting further away from that inner child, that little girl in me, I struggled so hard because that just wasn't who I was. And so the minute when I realized that this is all an evolution and I stopped fighting that and I just let go of resisting rather than just sort of accepting and trusting the process and saying that your inner child is there and it knows, and just accept the way things are unfolding. And I started doing that, my life started to change, in all good ways. And that doesn't mean I don't have challenges. This last year and a half, holy crap, right? I was seriously how am I going to get out of this mess? But still, I trust the process. I really do.
Which is really another profound quote coming from your mouth to everyone, is trust the process. Because really, I love my favorite quote that I've been living by for the last 2 years is, live life as if everything is rigged in your favor. So if that's the case and your soul knows, then everything you ever needed was born in you, with you at the beginning. And if you just keep trusting the fact that, you may fall and stumble along the way, but realizing that, your soul knows you're going to be okay. And I literally just rhymed again, but I I have to say, one of the most beautiful things is when a soul sees another soul and you recognize yourself there, and the sharing of the stories and the vulnerability, and also the guidance, because you are literally guiding other people to live a better life and giving them those tools to help them along so that they don't have to live hate or anger or nastiness, but freeing them really is to create the new ending, freeing them to have a different existence, which I think is just fantastic. And you are fantastic. And tell everybody where they can find you, because I think it is super important that if people have questions with regard to how they can be a better, citizen of the world, right? If they can come to you and ask you those questions, I'm sure you'll be willing to help them as well. And Suzanne is saying another wonderful guest and new friend for us all. So congratulations, you are really an amazing person. So tell us, where can we find you?
Yeah, thank you, Suzanne. So I'm the only social media platform I'm on is LinkedIn. So if you're on there, definitely follow me, because I'm always putting out resources and videos and articles and anything I get my hands on that relates to the topics that I'm out there being passionate about. So LinkedIn would be the best way. If you're interested in sort of the workshops that I'm out there offering, you can go to my company's website. It's TrainXtra.com. There's no E in the extra. And that would be the way to reach out to me.
Okay, so, and I also want to make sure everyone knows that the title of her TEDx is The Pain, Power, and Paradox of Bias. Her name is Sejal, Sejal Thakkar, Thakkar. And please go look at it. It's really beautifully done. Her story is beautiful. What she's doing from her beginning, pain, and what she's doing to help everyone in every context is really amazing. And I really encourage you to reach out to her on LinkedIn. She is a superstar. She is amazing. She will lift your day. She'll be that 15 minutes of positive interaction that you might need. And certainly she has left us with some beautiful, embracing the differences that, we all have. We're really more like filled with abundance mentality and trusting the process as well. So I always like to give my guests the final word of inspiration to leave everybody who has graced us with their presence tonight with something to take away. And I'll leave it to you.
Yeah, just, I love everything that we've talked about. And thank you again for having me here. I think all I would say is, look, just start with yourself. Just start to do the work on yourself and understand your own preconceived notions. And we all have different unconscious biases. It's normal. But as you do the work on yourself, everything else starts to align, right? You start seeing positive things, and then it starts to spread, right? So just start with yourself and just start to understand and learn and to love yourself, right?
I love that. And once you start with yourself, that's not bad. It's being self-full, not selfish. And, we can bring more to the plate when we actually take care of ourselves. So with that, I just want to remind everybody that my book, Butterfly Awakens, is coming out on September 7th, 2021. So, go out there and get your pre-orders today. Once again, I want you to go contact Sejal. She is amazing, and she is going to do really wonderful things. She's working with nobodies in the studio now, which I love. That's crazy. I just think it's amazing. And, we're always here to, engage and help manifest magic in all of your lives. I'm so grateful to Sejal and also all of you for joining us today. So all of you, I want you to remember that it's time to manifest the life of your dreams. It's time to move forward. Thank you so much. All of you, thank you, Sejal. I want to support all of you being the deliberate creators of your life. Dream big and let us all raise the positive vibes on this planet. And let us love ourselves, like she said, exactly where we are, acceptance in the moment, so we can be the change we wish to see in the future. Be bold, be awakeners, and yes, now it's time for all of us to fly. I believe in all of you. Thank you so much again, and have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your evening, everyone. Manifest away. Bye.